Is Gunner Stockton going to make this better for Georgia? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the run game. Georgia's run game last year was as bad as it had been in the 20-year period, in about 19 years, 18 years, something like that. 2006. It was the last time that Georgia ran for as few yards as it did, right? Rushed for, I'll pull up the total stats, but it was under 2,000 yards. Georgia ended up rushing for a whopping 1,742 yards. It ran for 4.1 yards per carry. It ran for 24 touchdowns and 124.4 yards per game. Those numbers suck when you compare them to previous Georgia football seasons and recent Georgia football seasons. Georgia in 2021 or two, one of those years ran for 3,000 yards, and the other one it ran for close to 3,000 yards, but not hitting that 2,000 yard mark, not hitting a 2,200 yard mark is just something that very good Georgia football teams don't do. It is kind of amazing when you go back and look at this Georgia football team and see that it's a team that won the SEC championship. It's a team that had great success, right? When you talk about bringing a trophy home, being the best in the conference, those are things that aren't typically done by a team that runs the ball this poorly. And Georgia did. So my overarching question to you and the topic that I want to discuss here over the next few minutes is, does Gunner Stockton make this better? Will he make Georgia's run game better? Better way to phrase it, will he be a factor in improving on what was an abysmal rushing year for the Dogs during that 2024 season? My quick answer is that's what I think. That's why I'm bringing it up, is because I think Gunner Stockton will help the Georgia Bulldogs rushing offense. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post. Please check out dogpost.com. It's in the corner. It's in this corner if you don't know how to spell it. .com. And we've got deals going on. We've got a mag out, preview magazines, got Gunner Stockton on the cover. The guy that we're talking about right now. It's got Dawg Post. We've got other deals going on. Make sure you're checking out our newsletter so you're up to date on what's happening with the Dogs. The best way to stay up to date with what's going on with us and Georgia. So Gunner was listed as a dual threat quarterback, right? I think he was the number one, or we'll look up Gunner on 24/7. That's the site that I like to look at for recruiting. But in terms of a recruit, I believe he was the number one dual threat in that class. If not, he was potentially the second. But this is a guy that is not afraid to lower the shoulder. It's a guy that Georgia clearly wants to use in the running game. He's not like don't get me wrong, he's not Cam Newton, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not RG3. He's not that type of quarterback. He is the type of quarterback that is a scrappy runner. He's a strong runner. He's faster than he looks, but he's not a blazer. He's just a good runner of the football. That's really the best way to put it. I watched him a lot at Rabun County. I think I saw him at least once all 4 years of his high school career. Saw him up close when I was in high school, and then, in recruiting situations and going and watching him in that sense. And there were plays where he would outrun dudes. There were plays where he trucked guys. There's that really famous play where they're playing on ESPN against Prince Avenue, and he's a junior, and Brock Vandegrift, another former Georgia quarterback, is a senior. I believe Gunner was committed to South Carolina at the time. Brock's committed to Georgia, and Rabun County wins that football game, and then Gunner kind of outplayed Brock. And there's that famous play in it where Gunner has like a 30-yard run. He scampers past everybody. He turns around and starts celebrating before he even gets into the end zone. He turns around, he spikes the football. Gunner Stockton can really bring the fire. That's kind of one of those traits that they love about him. When you saw him in the SEC championship game, that offense changed immediately. Now, I think there are at least two factors in why Georgia's offense looks so different with Gunner Stockton. One, he's a different type of quarterback, right? Two, there's three reasons. I knew there was a third. Two, you're rushed. He's not prepared the way that maybe Carson was prepared. Now your backup preparing like a starter is exactly what you want, but he wasn't going into the day saying, "Hey, like I'm going to be the guy out there against Texas in the SEC championship." That's not what was happening. But three, Texas has a very good defense. They had a very good secondary led by Jahdae Barron, Andrew Makuba, Taffy. They had all sorts of guys that was really good in the secondary. And so Georgia wanted to run the football when Gunner Stockton came out there for the injured Carson Beck at the beginning of the third quarter. And that's what Georgia did. They ran the ball, and they ran the ball well. They started being successful. It really opened things up to have a dual threat type of player out there for Georgia. And when you go back and you look at the play calling and you rewatch the second half of that game, and it's something I probably will do is rewatch the Notre Dame game. In fact, you know what? We will rewatch the Notre Dame game soon, and I'll do like I can't show you the film, but I'll do kind of my film review of Gunner Stockton. But what you'll see in that Texas game is they ran the read option. They were using the threat of Gunner's legs, and I think that really opened up Georgia's run game and allowed Nate Frazier to have an efficient game, right? I think like 6 or 7 carries for 47 yards was his final stat line. It allowed Trevor Etienne to rush for about 100 yards and break away on a few runs, especially that really big one down the sideline. Gunner Stockton kept it on a couple of read options. They ran RPO with him, and they emptied the set out, and he took the ball, QB draw. They did that a couple of times, and look, they were kind of successful with it. Now, on one of the QB draws, Gunner Stockton nearly got his head torn off by Texas safety Andrew Makuba, but nonetheless, his running ability opens up the run game more than just a pocket passer like Carson Beck can do. And he obviously ran a lot in high school. He's a very decorated high school athlete. Between the rushing and the passing touchdowns, I believe he is the record holder for total touchdowns in a career. He's top 3 or 4 on every passing stat. He's number 3 in passing yards. He ended up under 300 yards less than the top 2 guys, one of them being Aaron Philo, who's at Georgia Tech right now, went to Prince Avenue. The other being Trevor Lawrence. The guys he's ahead of, Julian Lewis, 5-star guy going to Colorado. Harrison Bailey, a guy that ended up at Tennessee, I believe. Jake Fromm, Deshaun Watson. These are the names that Gunner Stockton out through while he was in high school. And in addition to this, he was an efficient and talented runner that a lot of those guys aren't in terms of the production they had. Now, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, obviously guys that can run the football. But in terms of production, they didn't have that. Nate Frazier's a guy that Georgia needs to be better next season. They brought in Josh McCray. They've got Chauncey Bowens, who I think can be a good running back for them. They've got a kind of a gadgety type of player in Dwight Phillips Jr. They got Bo Walker, who got all sorts of buzz during spring practice. They've got a group of running backs that has a lot of talent, and with your RB1 in Nate Frazier, you think that things can be really good. The question is going to be, does it get better? Part of that's the offensive line. You need Drew Bobo to be good. You need Micah Morris to be good. You need Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green to be good. Is it Daniel Calhoun at guard? Does someone else win that guard spot? But Gunner Stockton is part of the key to this. If Georgia's passing game improves, which on paper you think it would when they bring in all those guys, when Georgia gets to reset on offense, and then now they have a dual threat quarterback that's going to take off and probably score some touchdowns with his legs and make some plays with his legs, and it's evident in Georgia's play calling that they want to do that, then yeah, I just think that Gunner is going to help make the run game better. I don't really think that that's a crazy take. I don't think he's going to run for like 600 or 700 yards. I don't think he's going to run that much. I don't think it's going to be that type of offense. But you're going to see him have a handful of rushing touchdowns. You're going to see him make some plays with his legs. And the threat of that on the read option should open things up for Nate Frazier, for Josh McCray, for Roger Robinson, whoever it is running the football, some opportunities that they probably didn't have last year, because you couldn't run that with a guy like Carson Beck, who's just not a very talented runner. Probably a better runner than people think, but not this ultra-talented runner of the football. I think you get that with Carson Beck. Or, excuse me, with Gunner Stockton. That's the end of this video, and I appreciate you watching.